Welcome to Asian Book Club, where we highlight Asian and Asian American authors. We are your hosts,
Jamae and Sabangan.
and I'm Stephen Park. And today we bring you our second season of Asian Book Club. And that means we start with our new book, which is going to be Rich AF with Vivian 2. And so this is our first read of it. It's pretty profound in what we're learning about how she looks at finances from the perspective that she does.
Mm-hmm.
But the topic I wanted to highlight today was something that she talked about in the book, and that was how other people think of it as a perspective to people who may not make as much money or who are more struggling to get by as a choice.
Mm.
Like they believe that the people who are struggling are making this choice to struggle. And obviously, it may not be like, I want to be poor, but it's they don't want to work hard. Like the people who are not making enough money aren't trying hard enough, or they're not doing things that'll make them money.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of when people say manifest your wealth, and I'm like, there's more to it than manifestation. Yes, manifestation mindset and having that thought process that you can expand, you can learn more, you can earn more. But manifesting by itself is not going to help anybody.
Yeah, and it's not a choice. Like the whole thought is just stop choosing to be poor.
Mm-hmm.
And I know so many people, especially within physical therapy, the realm that I see and the people that I am in more contact with on a daily basis. But I see so many people doing side hustles on a consistent basis. And these are people that have doctorate degrees. I've seen MDs pick up weekend shifts or on-call shifts because they need more money. People are creating candles, they're creating stationery, they're doing projects on the side just so that they can have some ends meet, but also hopefully a little bit extra to travel or do things like that.
Right. On a different end, but the same issue with education. A lot of educators who need that extra money either pick up shifts from workplaces that are night shifts or they use their vacation time to pick up more teaching hours, which then becomes no vacation for them.
Yeah. And usually they're also going to be working the summer shifts.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, these are people that come from households that don't have a lot of generational wealth,
Right.
which is why they're stuck in this position. The harder part is what generational wealth has created is a larger disparity. So the people that don't have to work to get money are never having to work to get money. Like they don't even need a first job.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the people who are needing to make a middle income or something even lower, they are working their butts off
Mm-hmm.
to try to just get to a little bit above ends meet. And this is even just our level of what we see.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are people, especially through work, through friends, whose parents have worked 80 hours in a week, who work 60 hours in dangerous positions like mines and things like that, just so that they can put food on the table. That's not even them vacationing. They're just trying to earn enough to have a house, to have a living. And there's no way you're going to tell me that this person is choosing to be poor or choosing not to work harder than anyone else. Like, if anything, they're working so much harder than the people sitting at top who are going to meetings and just like hanging out and listening. And I'm sure it's stressful in different ways, but these people are putting their lives on the line and putting blood, sweat, and tears into their job and coming home and choosing to sometimes be parents to children or uncles, aunts, or grandparents, or whatever their situation might be. So
Mm-hmm.
the thought of just choosing to be poor is such a demeaning concept and a concept that comes from only people that sit in positions where one is they shouldn't have the right to say it, but two is they have no understanding of what's going on.
Right. It kind of reminds me of the one line in Little Fires Everywhere, the TV show,
Hmm.
where they say, you didn't make good choices, you had good choices.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that just comes up within the conversation of what we read in Rich AF. So we'll dive further into it. But before we do, let's kind of check out someone who might be working in the social justice realm a little bit. And that's going to be our recommendation for the week.
Our recommendation for the week is YK Hong. YK Hong does work in liberatory strategy and tech justice, working with individuals, organizations, and companies to cultivate them through their anti oppression process. I appreciate how they commit so much time and thought to the work they post on Instagram, especially in being mindful about our global footprint as well as making space for community building on their page. They also create statement pieces through Chom Shim. You can learn more about YK Hong through their website at ykhong.com. That's YKHONG.com, and find them on Instagram at YKReborn.
Yep, and that's going to be our recommendation for the week. All right, so Rich AF by Vivian 2. She's a YouTuber, so you can find things about her on YouTube. She's also more famously known on TikTok.
Yep.
So I think, at least I can say for myself, that I've really enjoyed this first read so far.
Mm-hmm.
But for people that may not really feel like they can fit in the time for a book or something, which I would highly recommend that you do. But if you can't, I would say even just go to those resources because she's really good at sharing information on those.
Right. And not only does she share information, but she shares them in small snippets. So if you're looking for help with refunds from different stores or reimbursement from your taxes or just trying to make more money in your Roth IRA or 401k, she has videos for that. And these videos are small snippets.
Yep. But we're here to talk about the book. What was our first read?
Our first read were pages IX through 82, which is the intro, and chapters 1, Education for This Era, through chapter 2, I Know My Worth.
Yep. And we know that IX is Roman numeral 9. We're just trying to make it as clear as possible.
Yes.
I think with the start of this podcast, you might be able to tell that we get fairly passionate about money and income, and especially income disparity or wealth disparity.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to give off the wrong sense of this book, though.
Mm.
This book is very playful. She is very bright, and she is very good at storytelling and getting the point across without feeling like it's a lecture.
Right. And it doesn't feel like dry material either. Like Steven said, it's very bright and it's kind of sociable too in the way that she speaks.
Yeah, you can tell that she's a social media influencer
Mm-hmm.
by the way that she's writing, and we'll kind of talk about this later, but yeah, the way that she even reads her book.
Yes.
So, what we wanted to do with this podcast and the breakdown of this book is kind of what me and Jamae both found as the most interesting topics of our read.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I kind of want to start off with how she looks at money and the differences in the way that people who have money look at it versus people that may not have money look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So the way she talks about it is that people who are rich, people that already have money, they aren't in a scarcity mindset. They're not ones that are trying to hold their money. So they are moving it and they are trying to make it work for them.
Mm-hmm.
One of the concepts that she gave was people can only work a certain number of hours a day, and
Right.
within that certain number of hours a week, hours a year. But money, the way that our finance system is worked, can be moving all the time. It's a 24/7 system.
Mm-hmm.
So she talks about how rich people constantly put their money into different investments, the way that you can then, not only in the stock market or places like that, but even local investments of businesses, or if you hear of someone starting something and it sounds like a very good project that seems profitable, rich people will put their money into that.
Right. And one of the ways that she says that affluent people work and move is by finding those investments and not using those investments to be showy. So they're more thinking about how can their money grow and work rather than how can my money show off how rich I am.
Yeah. On that note, one thing that we haven't quite seen yet that maybe she talks about in a future chapter is the recognition that these are risky investments. Usually, when you're putting money into something that you're trying to grow, it's a risky investment.
Right.
There are other things that you can put it into, like a CD, which is a certificate deposit, where you know what you're going to get from the back end. But even with that, you may need that money at the current time rather than when it is supposed to come out later. So, knowing that, I think there should be an understanding that your money may not be able to be moved at that current time. Like, one of the things I think of is, and we talked about this a little bit in a previous episode, like way back when, but it was Hassan Minaj talking to like one of the Shark Tank people
Mm-hmm.
and just being very angry at the Shark Tank person for leading people into some terrible investments and
Yeah.
those people losing their life savings.
Right.
That isn't what Vivian is trying to do. Very much, she's trying to help you figure out ways for your money to grow. And it does seem like she goes with the understanding that not everyone's going to be able to do this. But
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of wanted to put that warning out there, or maybe not even warning, but that understanding that not everyone's going to be in the same place with this.
Right. It goes back to the point that not everyone is going to have that possibility to risk the money because they're working day in and day out and working 80 hours a week. So they might not be able to make those risks. They might not be able to invest in a condo where they can rent it out to other people. They might not be able to invest in stocks because that money is needed to put food on the table.
Yeah, the paycheck to paycheck living.
Yes.
But you had something that you really liked from this read as well.
Definitely. Something that really stood out to me and really made me feel confident was the takeaway exercise on page 49 of the physical copy, where Vivian asks us to write a pitch line that markets yourself to somebody you're networking with. And what she wrote for herself was, I'm Vivian, and I'm a top performing salesperson with a background in finance and digital entertainment media. I'm a creator. I've built companies that earn seven figures annually from scratch, and I am open to opportunities that allow me to help businesses reach their next generation of users. Notice that she doesn't talk about TikTok, she doesn't talk about social media, but she talks about her being a creator. She talks about her being able to make these changes for companies because that would entice people to learn more rather than, oh, she's just a TikTok influencer, that's it.
Yeah, and on that note, one of the things that I liked was more towards the end of our read, which were her suggestions on how you can start discussing a raise or how you can start influencing how to change what money you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things kind of on that note was to create a brag book, which is saving up all of the things that you did well during the year. Like if one of your coworkers said, "Oh, you did such a great job on this project," writing that down, or "Oh, we needed you for this and we're so glad we had you." Like writing down all these things so that when it comes time to presenting your case for a raise, you can go in with very descript, defined items that you have done during the year that warrant you to get a raise.
Absolutely. And if you don't want to write it down, some other suggestion would be to screenshot it and keep it all in a folder.
Yeah, just something where you have that evidence. She goes through several different other things, like why are you only bringing it up at the time that the meeting's already scheduled? Because
Mm-hmm.
at that time, your boss has already made the decisions. So, kind of using the time during the year to schedule more appointments with your boss so that you can discuss having raises. Like, she had so much good advice on this topic, and it's something that I've been absolutely trying to figure out how to do. So it's given me physical, hard strategies for how I can start not maybe getting the raise that I want, but at least influencing my position so that I can get a much better salary.
Exactly.
So that was something I really kind of found a lot of enjoyment from and a physical piece that I used. There was also a sense of a lot of understanding within this book, which I think you also got out of the book as well.
Definitely. Not only does she understand and recognize that there are rich people and there are people who don't have as much money, or rich people versus people who live paycheck to paycheck, she also acknowledges generational disadvantages as well as historical, racial, and sex based barriers like redlining with the Black community and the pink tax for women. So she notices and voices out the effects of the society we live in, particularly in the United States, the effects of capitalism and the gatekeeping that happens at work.
Yeah, and more specific to our AAPI community, which she describes the disparity on page 33. And this is a quote I got from the book. While Asians overall rank as the highest earning racial group in the United States, that is not a status shared by all Asians. We aren't a unified singular monolithic group, but rather a melting pot of many different countries, languages, and cultures and income brackets. In fact, Asian Americans are now the most economically divided racial group in the country. In 2016, Asians in the top 10th percentile earned over 10 times as much as those in the bottom 10th percentile.
Mm-hmm.
This is something I hear often about people kind of judging the Asian community as having wealth, like, oh, you're doctors, or you have a business, or you do this. But what you don't see are all the people that have to work on paycheck to paycheck. Like, they're working in fields that are in construction. They're working in fields that are janitorial services. There are people that are doing service and staff. Like, there is no monolithic. Like,
Mm-hmm.
everyone has a different story, and just because of your race, you're not suddenly warranted and granted money because overall certain people of your race are doing well.
Right. And it also shows the racial discrimination and the white supremacist type thinking in the workplace, where, for example, colorism, the lighter skinned you are and the more you look a certain way, then you raise in ranks versus those who are darker skinned and don't match the Eurocentric beauty standards.
Right. And this was just a very small quote that I pulled out, and around it are more descriptions on sexual preference, on people who are black or brown. Like, I only pulled this out because we are an ABC, like, we're the Asian book club community.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it's not saying this is the only important part of this book, but just because I wanted to highlight something that I don't think is discussed enough within our community,
yeah,
that I'm very glad that she included this in this book, and specifically having a stat to go behind it.
totally. And as a side note, Asian isn't a race, that's just a continent.
Yes. I really feel like we're undermining the lightness of this book.
Mm.
Um, Money is a hard issue for a lot of
Oh,
people.
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know many people, even rich people, I would assume. I don't know many people that talk about money without being stressed. I think Berna even talked about it in her book, where foundationally there's trauma, there's parts of you that go into stress mode as soon as the topic of money gets discussed.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that might be the tone that we're giving off because, yeah, it's not something that we are just swimming in. Like, it'd be nice. Honestly, we just finished a merch drop with our sweaters.
Yes.
And if we had a ton of money, I would be just handing them out like the t-shirt cannons out of like
Yes.
basketball games.
Mm-hmm.
I would have so much fun doing that, but it's just not where we are. We stress out about money.
Mm-hmm.
We have discussions on a lot of things of trying to figure out how to grow wealth, how to just get enough money that we don't have to be concerned about our future.
Yes.
I think this book is really great for someone who is trying to figure out what to do next. Because even in this book, one of the first things that Vivian talks about is you need to make money to save money.
But also, you can always earn more.
Right. But you need to earn money first.
Right.
So I think if you're someone who's kind of just starting off, and I don't know, I was there. I've worked a lot of server jobs. I've worked at Tivana. I think I talked about in this podcast. Like, I've
Mm-hmm.
worked at different retail stores, and that wasn't money that I was just raking in. And I mean, I could have put into savings. I should have put into savings, but it wasn't enough for me to feel like I could comfortably start going into savings mode. So I think this book is meant for people that have some amount of money. They're figuring out how to create a life that is going to be more comfortable or to set yourself up for more future endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the impression that I got from Rich AF.
Absolutely.
How did you feel about the book?
The book definitely lightens the mood. Like you said, the way that we're discussing money is coming from our money traumas, it's coming from the stress of money. And by not being rich people, we're also coming from a place of where do we earn more? How do we earn more? But the way that Vivian talks about it is it's possible, it's doable, and these are small ways that you can make it happen.
Right, there's hope, but also if you see that hope, use these steps to get you there.
Right, you have to take action in order to make it happen.
Right. I really like this book so far. I'm very excited to get into our second read, which we're going to be doing in our next podcast, and that's going to be pages.
Pages 83 through 162, and that'll be chapters 3, I am in charge of my money, through chapter 4, I take care of future me.
Yep. And before we get into our final sayings, I do want to say that this was a book that was gifted to us by Vivian's publisher.
Mm-hmm.
And It does not influence us in any way, to be honest. If we didn't like the book, we would tell you we aren't making any money off of this, so
No.
we're not at risk of losing something. But genuinely, I think this is a great read for people that want to figure out more to do with their finances. If you have any specific questions of kind of where you are, or if you just kind of want to share details and your stressors about maybe your own finances, we're here to listen. We probably can't help much, but we're here to at least listen. There's also the book by Berna and Not, Money Out Loud, where you
Yes.
can always reference that. I think it has a different take than where Vivian's taking us.
Yes, I feel like specifically with Vivian's book, she is targeting those who are late 20s to early 30s. For those who are within their career and trying to climb or trying to start their career.
Yep. So if you connect with that and you want to talk to us more, how can people reach out to us?
Y'all can email us at asianbookclubpod@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at asianbookclubpod.
We also have our website, which is asianbookclubpod.com, that have books that we've read in the past, books that we recommend, and books that we plan to read in the future.
And a great way to support us is to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast.
Otherwise, make sure to be happy, be healthy, and read a book.
Ingat! Bye!